My wife's affair with her boss, who's been secretly siphoning off our $400, $0 family inheritance for years, only came to light when I found the bank statements. Now she's suing me for custody and claiming I masterminded the whole betrayal to hide the $250, $0 she drained from our account, and I don't know who to trust anymore. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife turned out to be cheating on me with her boss. Honestly, it felt like a bad joke at first, one of those nightmare scenarios you hear about but hope will never happen to you. But it did. And the craziest part is, I only found out because I stumbled across a pile of bank statements I wasn't supposed to see. Before that, everything seemed fine, or at least, normal enough. We had our issues, sure, but I never thought her discontent or her secret meetings would lead to this kind of mess. We've been married for about 7 years now. I met when I was fresh out of college, just starting to build my career. She was ambitious, beautiful, and a little bitchy. Her words, not mine, and I was smitten. We had a good life, or so I thought. We bought a house, started saving for the future, and I thought we were solid. But looking back, there were always little cracks. She was quick to snap at me if I didn't do something right, always had some excuse for why she couldn't spend time together, and her phone was never truly out of reach. I brushed it off as her being busy or stressed, but I guess I was wrong. Things started feeling off about 6 months ago. She started working late more often, claiming it was just extra hours at the office. Then she got a new boss, tall, charming, and apparently very persuasive. I noticed she was more secretive about her phone, hiding it when I came into the room, and she'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting. I told myself I was just overthinking it. I mean, she's a woman who likes her independence, right? But then, little things kept piling up. Missed calls, unexplained absences, and a sudden obsession with her appearance. More makeup, new clothes I hadn't seen before, and a new sense of confidence that felt off. One night I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my bank app just to check our account balances as I do occasionally. That's when I saw it. A series of transactions I didn't recognize. Large withdrawals, transfers to unknown accounts, and a suspicious payment labeled consulting fee to a company I'd never heard of. It was about $10, $0 in total, spread over the last few months. My stomach sank. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. I clicked further, and that's when I saw that the money had been siphoned off from our inheritance fund, the $400, $0 we'd been saving for years. The inheritance we were counting on for our future gone. I didn't know what to think. I sat there, stunned. My mind raced. Why would she do this? Was she planning to leave? Was she in some kind of financial trouble? But no, it didn't add up. Then I remembered her late nights, her phone calls, her secretive behavior. And then I remembered the texts I saw on her phone earlier that week, flirty, suggestive messages with talking about meetings, special projects, and secret plans. I dismissed it as work stuff at first, but now I saw it for what it was, a betrayal. I kept digging through the bank statements, trying to connect the dots. And that's when I found the real shocker, a series of payments to his personal account, about $5, $0 in total, just in the last 2 months. I couldn't believe it. My wife, who had always been a little bitchy and manipulative, was not only cheating on me but also secretly draining our savings for her own benefit. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My mind was racing with questions. How long has this been going on? How much more money has she stolen? And what else was she hiding? I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. It was eating me alive. I waited until she came home that night, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside I was boiling with anger, betrayal, and confusion. I needed to hear her explanation, even if I already knew the truth. I just wanted her to admit it. When she walked in, I held up the bank statements and asked her outright, "What the hell is this? Explain these transactions." Her face went pale for a second, then she smiled, that bitchy smile she always wears when she's about to lie her way out of something. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Oh, it's just some business expenses, Jeff. You're overreacting. You're always so paranoid. I don't know why you're making a big deal out of this." But I wasn't buying it. Not for a second. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the way her hands trembled slightly, and I knew she was lying. I pressed further, demanding she tell me the truth. And that's when she got defensive, snapping at me, saying I was crazy, accusing me of spying on her and claiming I was jealous and insecure. But I knew better. I knew she was lying, and I knew she was hiding something even worse. That's where I am right now, standing at this crossroads, feeling betrayed, hurt, and furious. I don't trust her anymore, and I don't know what's real. All I know is, the woman I loved and trusted has been hiding a whole different life from me, one filled with lies, money, theft, and betrayal. And I'm left, trying to piece it all together, wondering if I was blind, naive, or just in denial. Whatever happens next, I know one thing for sure: things will never be the same. After I confronted that night with the bank statements, things escalated pretty quickly. She started crying, of course, trying to play the victim, saying I was paranoid, that I didn't trust her, that I was just jealous of her success at work. She kept insisting that everything was just business expenses. That was just a mentor, and that I was overreacting because I was insecure. It was the typical gaslighting routine she's perfected over the years. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I had the evidence, and I knew she was lying. She got defensive, raising her voice, throwing in some nasty accusations of her own, saying I was controlling, jealous, and that I was just paranoid because I was insecure about her doing better than me. She told me I was imagining things, that was just a friend, and I was just looking for problems where there were none. That's when I lost my temper. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I knew she was cheating, stealing, and lying. I told her I had seen everything and I wanted her to admit it, but she just kept denying, twisting her words, acting innocent like she was the victim. I realized then that she was a master manipulator, and I was just a fool for trusting her. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing with questions. How long had she been doing this? Had she been cheating on me for years? Was the money gone forever? I kept going over everything I saw, everything she said, trying to find some kind of truth in all her lies. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry. I'd always thought we had a good life, but now I saw it was built on lies. The woman I loved was a thief, a cheat, and a liar. I didn't even recognize her anymore. In the days that followed, I started digging deeper. I hired a private investigator to find out about, and what I discovered was even worse. Wasn't just her boss. He was siphoning off money from our inheritance, just like. I got bank records, emails, and texts confirming that had been secretly transferring money into his account. About $250 over the last few years. All from our savings, all while was pretending to be this innocent wife. I was stunned. How could she do this? How could she betray me and drain our future like that? I also found out that had been having an affair with for at least 2 years. It explained her secret late nights, her phone always on silent, and her sudden interest in her appearance. She was sleeping with her boss, and apparently she'd convinced herself she was in love with him. She said she didn't mean to hurt me, that it was just sex, that she was bored, that made her feel alive again. But I could see the truth in her eyes. She didn't just want sex, she wanted power, control, and money. And she got it. I felt like my entire world was crashing down around me. I couldn't believe I had been so blind. I thought I knew her, but I was just fooling myself. The woman I married was a thief and a liar. Everything I believed in, our marriage, our future, was shattered in an instant. The betrayal cut deep. I was angry. But I was also hurt. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I let her manipulate me for so long. I thought I knew her, but I was just naive. The worst part was realizing that all the money she stole wasn't just about greed. It was about control. She wanted to take everything from me, our savings, our inheritance, our trust. And she almost succeeded. I didn't know whether to feel rage, sadness, or just emptiness. All I knew was that I had to figure out what to do next. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to fall. My marriage was over, or at least it was definitely on life support. I needed to think carefully about my next move. The betrayal was too deep, and I knew I couldn't just forgive and forget. Not this time. In the aftermath of discovering everything, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Every day was a struggle to keep my head straight. The betrayal was so intense that I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work, and honestly, I didn't want to see anyone. All I kept thinking about was the money she stole, the affair with, and how she lied to me for so long. It was like my entire world had turned upside down overnight. I started questioning everything, my judgment, my trust in people, even myself. How did I miss all these signs? How could I have been so blind? I kept replaying moments in my head, trying to find clues I had overlooked. All those little things, her secretive phone habits, her sudden obsession with her looks, her late nights at work, they all added up now. I felt stupid for not noticing sooner, for not pushing harder. But at the same time, I was furious. Furious at her, and furious at myself for letting this happen. It was of emotions, and I didn't know how to process it. During that dark period, I decided I had to confront her again, this time more firmly. I knew I needed answers, and I needed to hear her admit everything. I called her into the living room, told her I had more proof, and demanded she come clean. Her face twisted into that familiar smirk, like she thought she could lie her way out of anything. She kept insisting that I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, that was just a business contact, that the money was all a misunderstanding. But I cut her off. I told her I had seen the bank statements, the emails, the texts. I told her I knew about the affair, about the siphoning of our inheritance, and that I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this. That's when she snapped. She started screaming, throwing accusations back at me, saying I was a controlling, jealous husband, that I was just insecure because she was more successful than me, and that I was ruining everything. She called me a paranoid freak and said I was just trying to sabotage her career and her happiness. It was the typical blame-shifting, gaslighting routine she's always used. I could see she was desperate to save herself, to spin it into some kind of victimhood. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her she was a liar, a thief, and a cheat. I told her she had no right to treat me like this after everything we built together. She stormed out of the house that night, screaming that she was going to sue me for custody of the kids, like she was trying to turn everything around on me. She claimed I was the one who'd masterminded the betrayal, that I'd fabricated the whole thing to hide my own guilt. That was the moment I realized how deep her manipulations went. She was trying to make me the villain, to turn everyone against me. But I knew the truth. I knew I wasn't the one who'd betrayed her or stolen from our family. She had, and she was desperately trying to save herself. Over the next few days, I started to piece together what had really happened. I hired a lawyer, of course, because I knew she was planning to fight me on everything: custody, the house, the money. I also started talking to some close friends and family, trying to get support. My mind kept circling back to the money, how she'd drained our inheritance, how she'd lied about her feelings, how she'd betrayed not just me but our entire future. I felt sick knowing she'd been planning this all along, that she'd been secretly siphoning off our savings to feed her affair and her greed. The thing that hurt the most was realizing I had loved her, believed in her, and trusted her with everything. And she had turned around and stabbed me in the back so viciously. It's like I was living in someone else's nightmare. I kept asking myself whether I should fight to save the marriage or cut my losses and move on. Honestly, at that point, I was leaning toward ending it. I couldn't see how we could come back from this level of betrayal. But part of me still hoped for some kind of reconciliation, some way to make sense of it all, though I knew deep down that trust was shattered beyond repair. Now I'm just trying to hold it together, figure out what's next, and deal with the fallout. I know I have to protect my kids through all of this because threats and her manipulations are only going to get worse. I feel like I've been by someone I loved, someone I thought knew me, cared about me, and was committed to our life together. Instead, I found out she was just using me, using our money, and using her position to cheat her way to some fleeting happiness. That realization cuts deep. And honestly, I don't know how to move forward yet. All I do know is that my life has changed forever, and I'm left trying to pick up the pieces of what's left. The days that followed were some of the darkest I've ever experienced. I was caught between anger and disbelief, trying to process how someone I loved could do this to me. I spent hours staring at the walls, replaying every moment, every sign I had missed, each one now glaringly obvious in hindsight. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. Had always been manipulative, but I never thought she'd go this far, betray me so completely, drain our savings, and sleep with her boss all at once. It felt like my entire world had been turned into a lie. I started digging into her phone, her emails, her social media accounts. I needed proof, something concrete to hold on to. It was disgusting how many lies she'd told, how she'd hidden her affair with behind a wall of half-truths. I found explicit messages between them, texts, emails, even some explicit photos. She'd been planning this for a long time, carefully covering her tracks, convincing herself she was untouchable. That's when I realized she'd been lying to me from the start, pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly cheating, stealing, and scheming. I also learned that wasn't just some innocent boss. He was a con artist, a manipulator, someone who saw as a way to siphon off money and boost his own reputation. The emails showed that they'd been talking about their future plans, about how to hide the money, how to keep me from finding out. It was all so calculated. I felt sick reading how they plotted, how they conspired to steal from us, all while pretending to be innocent. I couldn't believe I'd been so naive, so trusting. It was like I was living in some twisted nightmare. I knew I had to act fast. I contacted a lawyer, someone who specialized in financial crimes and family law. I wanted to freeze the accounts, recover what I could, and prepare for the inevitable legal battle. Was already pushing for custody of the kids, trying to spin her betrayal as my fault, claiming I was an unfit father because I was paranoid and controlling. I couldn't believe her audacity. She had the nerve to accuse me of all kinds of things, like I was the one who'd betrayed her. The woman I married was now just a stranger, a thief, a liar, a manipulator. Meanwhile, I started gathering evidence for the divorce and custody case. I printed out every email, every bank statement, every message I could find. I wanted to make sure she wouldn't get away with any of this. I also hired a private investigator to follow her around, just to see if she was still sneaking around or trying to hide more money. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how deep her deception went. She'd been planning this for years, draining our inheritance little by little, while pretending to be the loving wife. It was a betrayal that cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever recover from it. The hardest part was dealing with the emotional fallout. I felt like I was losing my mind. Every time I looked at the kids, I wondered if she'd already been poisoning their perception of me. I couldn't trust her anymore, and I definitely couldn't trust her to be a good mother when she was out there scheming behind my back. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, why I wasn't enough, but deep down I knew the truth. She was the one who betrayed us, not the other way around. I was just the fool who believed in her, who thought we had a future. I also had to brace myself for her legal threats. She was already claiming I was trying to control her, that I was making false accusations, and that I was trying to ruin her reputation. She was trying to turn everything around, painting herself as the victim, saying I was just jealous of her success and her relationship with. But I knew better. I knew all her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me. I was determined to fight for my rights, for my kids, and for what was left of our family's future. Honestly, I don't know how I've kept going these past few days. Every morning I wake up feeling like I've been punched in the stomach all over again. But I also know I can't let her win. I have to stay strong for my kids, for myself. I've learned a lot about trust and deception, about how some people will do anything for money and power. And I've realized that sometimes love isn't enough to survive betrayal. I'm still trying to figure out what my next move is, but one thing's clear. I will not let her destroy everything we built. Not without a fight. The legal process has been a nightmare, honestly. I never imagined I'd be in this position, fighting my own wife in court, trying to prove her deception, her theft, her lies. The more I dug into her financials, the more I uncovered just how deep her betrayal went. She's claiming I orchestrated everything, that I'm just a jealous husband trying to ruin her reputation, but it's pure projection. I have the evidence, proof of her affair with the siphoned money, the emails plotting how to hide it all. Still, trying to get the court to see through her lies has been exhausting. This lawyer is doing everything they can to paint her as the victim, claiming she was just trying to better herself, that was helping her with her career, that the money she took was for her future. She's spinning a story that I was controlling, jealous, and abusive, trying to make me look like the bad guy so she can keep the kids and walk away with the inheritance. It's infuriating. I know her game now. She's good at twisting words, at playing the victim, but I refuse to be manipulated anymore. I've got all the evidence, and I'm prepared to fight for what's rightfully mine. The custody battle has been just as brutal. Is trying to portray herself as the perfect mother, claiming I'm unstable, that I'm unfit because I'm paranoid and controlling. Meanwhile, she's the one who's been lying, stealing, and sneaking around behind my back. The court has looked at the evidence, text messages, bank records, the private investigator's reports, and it's clear she's been lying about her intentions, about her relationship with, and about her financial situation. Still, courts can be unpredictable, and is doing her best to manipulate the system. She's spinning her web of lies, trying to turn her betrayal into some twisted act of independence. Throughout all this, I've felt a mix of anger, frustration, and sadness. Anger at her for what she's done, frustration at how long this process is dragging out, and sadness because I still love the woman I married, though that love is now buried under layers of betrayal. I keep asking myself if I could ever forgive her, if I even want to. The answer is no. Not after everything she's done. She's stolen our money, betrayed our vows, and lied to our kids. How can I ever trust her again? How can I rebuild what's broken? But I also realize I have to focus on protecting my kids. Threats to take custody and her attempts to turn the courts against me are a clear tactic to manipulate the situation. I've hired a good lawyer, and I'm making sure every piece of evidence is documented. I want the court to see her for who she truly is, someone who betrayed her vows, drained our inheritance, and lied her way through this whole mess. I know she's trying to make me look like the bad guy, but I won't let her succeed. I've learned that sometimes the truth is buried under layers of lies, and it takes patience and persistence to uncover it. Honestly, I've reached a point where I don't care about saving the marriage anymore. It's too late for that. I just want to protect what's left, my home, my kids, and whatever dignity I can salvage. I've realized that some betrayals run so deep that reconciliation isn't possible. The trust is shattered beyond repair. I've been betrayed by the woman I loved, and I can't keep pretending everything's okay. The only thing I can do now is fight for my future, for my kids' future, and try to move past this nightmare. I don't know what the next few months will hold, but I do know I'll do everything in my power to come out of this stronger and smarter. Because if I've learned anything, it's that sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even if it means losing someone you once thought was your everything. Now, after everything, I find myself sitting alone in a quiet house that once felt full of love and trust. The courtroom battles, the lies, the theft, all of it has left scars I don't think will ever fully heal. I've come to accept that is no longer the woman I thought I knew. She's someone I barely recognize, someone capable of betraying her own family for greed, power, and sex. The betrayal cuts so deep that I wonder if I'll ever be able to look at her the same way again. The trust is gone, and honestly, I don't even want it back. Looking back, I realize how much I was blinded by my love and hope. I wanted to believe in us, in our future, in the woman I married. But her actions proved that she was willing to destroy everything we built just to feed her greed and satisfy her selfish desires. The money she drained from our inheritance, the affair with her manipulative lies, they all show a pattern of betrayal that I can't ignore anymore. I've learned that sometimes love isn't enough to survive betrayal, and holding on to that hope can only hurt you more. The hardest part now is moving forward. I have to rebuild my life piece by piece. I've lost trust in her, but I refuse to let her take my peace of mind or my future. I've started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout, to get some clarity and strength. I've also started focusing on my kids, making sure they're protected from the chaos and lies. They deserve stability, and I owe it to them to be the best father I can be, despite everything that's happened. This experience has taught me some harsh lessons about trust, deception, and the corrosive power of greed. It's shown me that some people will lie, cheat, and manipulate just to get what they want, regardless of who gets hurt. I've learned to be more cautious, more skeptical, and more aware of the signs of betrayal. I've also learned that sometimes the only way to truly heal is to accept what's happened, forgive yourself for the naivety, and focus on building a new future, one where honesty, integrity, and genuine love are the foundation. So here I am, still standing. I don't have all the answers, and I don't know exactly what the future holds, but I do know that I'm stronger than I thought I was. I've faced betrayal that would break most people, and I've come out the other side. I want anyone reading this to know that even in the darkest moments, you can find a way to pick yourself up. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep, but life goes on. And sometimes, the only way forward is to let go of what's broken, pick up the pieces, and start again. Because at the end of the day, your happiness and your integrity matter more than anyone else's lies.